She said that 10 years ago, and she said it again last night. 10 years ago, a friend of mine told me she wanted to bring her father to live with her. He was getting older, living alone in a small town. She worried about him, missed him, wanted him closer. But she wanted to wait a little longer, a bigger house, a better room, better conditions. I just want things to be better first. At the time, it sounded reasonable. In fact, it sounded loving. Yesterday afternoon, we were sitting in a coffee shop talking about renovations. She had finally bought the house she always wanted. The extra room was ready, and she smiled. Now I can finally bring Dad up here. Then her phone rang. A few hours later, her father was in the hospital. By midnight, he was unconscious. And through tears, she kept repeating the same sentence. The same sentence she had said 10 years earlier. I just wanted things to be better first. Not, I should have worked less. Not, I should have made more money. Not even, I should have bought the house sooner. Just one sentence. I just wanted things to be better first. I couldn't stop thinking about those words. Not because they sounded selfish. They didn't. They sounded responsible. The kind of words good people say. And maybe that's why they felt so familiar. Because most of us have our own version of that sentence. I'll do it when work settles down. I'll take the trip when finances improve. I'll spend more time with family after this busy season. I'll take care of my health once things become less stressful. After this. After this. After this. And before we realize it, years have passed. Not because we weren't living, not because we didn't care, but because we kept believing there would be a better time, a better season, a better moment to begin. The strange thing about waiting is that it rarely feels like waiting. It feels responsible. It feels temporary. Just a little longer. Just a little more. Just until things are ready. And that's what makes it so hard to recognize. Because waiting doesn't arrive disguised as a mistake. It arrives disguised as a good reason. I remember a father I once knew. His son loved riding bikes, nothing special, just 2 bicycles and an empty Saturday afternoon. Dad, wanna ride bikes? Maybe later. Dad, wanna go to the park? Next weekend. Dad, wanna throw the ball? Soon. And he meant every word. He wasn't avoiding his son. He was working, building a career, trying to provide a good life. And besides, there would always be another Saturday. At least that's what he thought. Years later, he walked into his garage and saw a small blue bicycle covered in dust. His son was grown, living in another city, building a life of his own. And suddenly he found himself trying to remember something. Not the last bike ride, the last invitation. The last time his son had asked, "Dad, wanna ride bikes?" And he couldn't remember. Years later, he told me something I haven't forgotten. I thought I was saying no to an afternoon. Then he smiled. I didn't realize I was saying goodbye to a season. That sentence stayed with me, because the truth is, most of us never know when we're experiencing a last time, the last bedtime story. The last family vacation where everyone was still together. The last afternoon your child reached for your hand without hesitation. The last time your father walked up the stairs without needing to stop halfway. We imagine these moments will announce themselves. That life will somehow tell us, pay attention, this matters, but it rarely does. Most endings don't look like endings when we're living them. They look like ordinary Tuesdays, ordinary weekends, ordinary conversations, and that's why they slip past us. Not because they weren't important, but because they felt so normal at the time. The older I get, the more I notice how many important things leave that way. Not all at once. Not with a warning. Just one postponed afternoon at a time. One postponed visit. One postponed phone call. One postponed trip. Until one day, you look back and realize something changed while you were busy planning to come back to it. A few years ago, I came across a study that helped me understand why this happens. Researchers found that people tend to fear loss much more than they value gain, which means we often work harder to avoid a possible regret than to create a meaningful experience. And suddenly, waiting starts to make sense. We tell ourselves we're being careful, responsible, practical. We convince ourselves we're protecting something. Money, security, stability, the future. But while we're busy protecting what we might lose, we rarely stop to ask what waiting might already be taking away. And that's the trap. We spend so much time measuring the risks of action that we never measure the cost of delay. Because delay feels harmless. Nothing bad happened today. Nothing bad happened this week. Nothing bad happened this year. So we assume nothing is changing. But life rarely changes all at once. It changes gradually, quietly, while we're looking somewhere else. Sometimes I wonder how many important things in our lives are hiding inside the word later. A phone call, a visit, a trip, a conversation we've been meaning to have, a promise we've been making to ourselves for years. And if life has taught me anything, it's that the things we push into later rarely stay exactly where we left them. Time has a way of touching everything, even the things we assume will wait. I once met a retired man who dreamed of visiting Machu Picchu. For years, a photograph of Machu Picchu sat on his desk, not as a plan, as a promise to himself that one day he would finally go. And every year, he moved that promise forward, just a little further, just until things settled down, just until life became less busy. Eventually, he retired. He finally had the time. He finally had the money. He finally had everything he thought he was waiting for, except the body he once had, the energy he once had, the knees that once could carry him up a mountain without a second thought. What struck me wasn't his disappointment. It was something he said afterward. I thought I was postponing the trip. Then he smiled. I didn't realize the trip was changing too. I've thought about that sentence many times, because maybe that's true of more things than we realize. The dinner with your parents, the weekend with your children, the friend you've been meaning to call, the place you've always wanted to see, the conversation you've been putting off. We think they'll be there when we're ready, but life doesn't freeze moments for us. It keeps moving, quietly, one season at a time. And that's when something uncomfortable occurred to me. Maybe the biggest danger of waiting isn't that we lose time. Maybe it's that waiting slowly teaches us to believe we have more time than we actually do. Not consciously, quietly. 1 year becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. And because the change is so gradual, we never feel the weight of what's slipping away, until one day we do. For a long time, I thought this was a story about waiting. Now I think it's a story about assumptions. The assumption that there will be more time, a better season, a better moment, a better opportunity. The assumption that the people we love, the places we want to go, and the things that matter most will stay exactly where they are until we're ready for them. But life has never worked that way, and maybe that's what my friend realized sitting in that hospital hallway. Not that she needed a bigger house sooner, not that she should have earned money faster, not even that she had made some terrible mistake. Just that life had already been happening all those years, and some of the things she was waiting for had been available the entire time. A meal together, a conversation, a walk, a quiet afternoon. Things that never required perfect conditions, only presence. Maybe that's the real cost of waiting. Not the years themselves, but everything those years quietly take with them. The conversations, the invitations, the afternoons, the opportunities we assumed would still be there. The tragedy isn't that we waited. The tragedy is that we never counted what the waiting was costing us. Yesterday, sitting in that hospital hallway, my friend wasn't talking about money, or houses, or success. She wasn't thinking about the extra bedroom she had finally finished. She wasn't thinking about all the years she spent trying to create a better life. There was only one thing she kept saying, over and over, through tears. I just wanted things to be better first. And maybe that's what makes waiting so dangerous. It rarely comes from selfishness. It usually comes from love, from responsibility, from wanting to do things the right way, from believing that if we wait a little longer, we can give the people we love something better. But life has a way of asking a difficult question. What if what they needed wasn't better? What if they simply needed us there? A conversation, a visit, a walk, a Saturday afternoon, a chance to be together while being together was still possible. Maybe that's why the moments we miss hurt so much. Because when we finally look back, we realize we weren't waiting for life. Life was waiting for us, and by the time we noticed, part of it had already moved on.